I would like to start with a number. This is how many people died in organized violence in 2025. We recorded 65 state-based conflicts, all-time high since, let's say, World War II, since the time we started recording. And also, we have 8 interstate conflicts. We have 5 times surge in, five-fold increase in civilians deliberately killed in conflicts. But this is not the number that I want to talk about. So this is the number that I want to talk about today. We are around 15 people at UCDP, collecting data, assessing data on organized violence, extracting relevant information. And our team has recorded 35,000 fatal incidents last year. So the world is getting more and more violent, and the workload is a bit, as you can imagine. So we need to do something about this. But before I mention what we are doing about this, I would like to mention one thing, and I would like to be honest about this. Conflict data itself is not a census. The numbers that we provide, the numbers that event data sets provide, are not census. They are a representation. So our team, or data collectors, only see what surfaces through reporting by news agencies, reporting by NGOs, reporting in social media, whatever you can imagine. We are scanning, monitoring. But the gap between what is being reported and what actually happened is quite important. And the gap is widest, exactly where you would least want it, the most violent and hardest to reach places. We actually try to come up with a model to understand the uncertainty around fatality figures that we reported. So you can also check this paper. So one takeaway, you're not training on ground truth, but on a representation of reported reality. In 2025, something strange happened at UCDP. All of a sudden, we started getting immense load of API calls. We have freely available API, and we just passed 4 million API calls, and we were just thinking, our first reaction was that we are under attack. But it turned out, it was probably not that, let's say. And people everywhere around the world basically started building AI with AI assistants, AI coding assistants, building tools like dashboards, forecasting models, whatever you can imagine. I even see a prayer app, for instance, built on conflict data, well, which was quite interesting, I should say. And so UCDP data had quietly become an infrastructure for an AI ecosystem that we did not design and we cannot control. We were mainly for researchers, as you also know. So what is AI actually doing for us? More than what you might think, more than what you might expect, but not just where the hype points now. So we're building scrapers, like the AI coding assistants are amazing. We're building scrapers, automation tools, we monitor sources, and we also build small Chrome extensions, for instance, so that our team, they're not exposed to violent materials like the videos. Sometimes they need to watch the videos, but if we try to prevent unnecessary exposure, let's say. And the translation, the AI translation is getting more and more advanced every day. And we have a peace science infrastructure project based in PRIO, Peace Research Institute Oslo. And we published a UCDP AEC dataset. You can also check this paper that bridges conflict research and computational social science. And on Wednesday, my colleague Anastasia Phillips will present our latest model for conflict event extraction. So one thing that I would like to highlight here, AI can help the coders, the annotators, the conflict analysts, and it may actually help us in a way that we can filter at least initial material, so that the exposure, our exposure to violent material is less. The reason I would like to highlight this is that there was this paper in Journal of Peace Research which assessed how the research-related stress among research assistants, among conflict coders. And 88% of people, and we were also among those participant pool, 88% of those surveyed reported at least one indicator of psychological stress. So if AI can help us a little bit, it's not just a matter of efficiency, it's also a matter of duty of care. And a more violent world makes it more urgent and not less. So now what we are doing, I mean, now the hard part, I should say. So the 80% is a metric that we see for some variables. The best models we tested on some variables can accurately predict 80% of the, 80% accuracy rate is the thing that we see on the models. It is quite impressive, but the human coders are much better than 80% in extracting relevant variables and identifying what is credible. So this is the point I argue that AI fails. Where AI fails is exactly where it matters the most, and that is the question of source credibility. How would AI assess the source credibility? And by source, I don't mean BBC or something. I mean, BBC might be reporting something, and you might think that BBC is a well-known news organization, but who is BBC using as the original source of the event? So that matters, and that is something that is quite hard for any AI model to understand, to grasp, to predict. So we're not going to lose our jobs. That's a good news. Also, resolving ambiguous cases is quite difficult for AI, for LLMs. The consistency with our methodology. So UCDP has a history of nearly half a century now. And this methodology of UCDP and the conceptual framework is being developed like over the years. So we try to have the strict methodology to understand and analyze organized violence. The question is, how would LLMs apply this strict methodologically? How can we define this? And this is quite tough because LLMs, I mean, the nature of LLMs, as you know, we also discussed a little bit. They're hallucinating. The output is somewhat not easy to predict. So these are the three main things that I would like to highlight here as the current status of AI. The deeper problem is that I argue AI can make our pipeline faster. I mean, we can scrape data, we can create extraction models, and then those extractions, the output can be assessed by human coders. So maybe we don't, I mean, maybe in the next 20 years, we don't, if the world gets a little bit peaceful, let's say, maybe we don't need 15 people, but 10 people to code. So all organized violence around the world, all fatal organized violence around the world. But the problem is, if the reporting itself is thin, if the government suppress information ecosystem, if there is no journalist on the ground, if there is no one witnessing the event itself, there will still be this gap. So you can make it faster, but it will be a faster version of the same incomplete picture. So, and the worst thing is that it can even amplify existing biases at scale, and it would be very difficult to identify the exact, like the problem. Identifying the main problem would be very difficult. I mean, you can audit humans. You can ask a research assistant what you do, and then the research assistant might explain, and then you can identify that, oops, that's a problem. So we can fix this, and then I can go back to all these events coded by that person, so I can fix this. But in this case, it might be a little bit more trickier, let's say. So, I mean, for for data pipelines, for every data project, I think this is um, the main 3 words, I should say. UCDP data now trains and feeds systems that influence UN early warning mechanisms, humanitarian resource allocation, and conflict forecasting tools used by governments, NGOs all around the world. So the choices we make at the UCDP team about what to collect, how to represent it, how to automate parts of it, those choices have consequences far greater than those 15 people, let's say. And a recent overview of Magnus of what UCDP does had these 3 words in its conclusion, and I think these are quite important. So know your data before training anything, before forecasting, or before nowcasting, whatever you are doing. That is the key thing. And lastly, I would like to mention that, I mean, AI is a valuable asset, for sure. But it is helping a small team like ours to keep pace with a more violent world. But the value of what we produce at UCDP is not speed. It's trust, and trust that comes from methodological consistency, source evaluation, source discipline, and from human judgment that we use when we are creating this data. The problem is, as AI-generated data gets easier to produce and gets cheaper to produce, it's going to be quite difficult. So trust gets harder to earn, and it will be more important to protect, like like ours. So thank you very much. And if you have any questions, comments, anything about UCDP, just let me know. Thanks.